Welcome back to The Creative Lens. Today, Jake and Colden debate whether AI is becoming the ultimate creative assistant or slowly replacing creativity itself. They break down the fake behind-the-scenes videos, copy and paste AI designs, and why businesses are being encouraged to create entire commercials without hiring professionals at all. Then they share some AI tools that are genuinely improving their own editing and their workflows, and some trade-offs that creators need to consider. Plus, Canon's compact camera boom, Sony's proposed acquisition of Tamron, and Nikon loses a major patent battle. Let's get into it. All right, man, welcome. What's up? Welcome to The Creative Lens. This is episode 17. Jake, how's it going? I know you said you were maybe a little bit laggy. Jake's on his...
I think I'm super lagging now. Oh, Lord.
Yeah, we're dragging a little bit. That's okay. Well, you'll catch back up. Jake's on his laptop today. Yeah, Jake's on his laptop today. So we are battling Wi-Fi. But Jake, maybe you just need a little more AI in your life. Maybe it is. Is it the AI slowing you down, or do you need more AI to speed you up? I don't know. That'll be our debate. Hopefully you catch back up for that, but we'll see. I wanted to start off with some comments, a comment that I had gotten on one of our videos from, I think last week we were talking about the FX5, and it made me think of a couple of things we have talked about, but this was the comment. It said, hey, can you make a video about the FX3 and the FX5 footage, and once it makes it to YouTube, how no one's going to be able to tell the difference? And I completely, as much as we enjoy, Jake, I think you're caught up now. As much as we enjoy talking about, no, you are not. Never mind. As much as we enjoy talking about gear and new releases and stuff like that, I mean, I totally agree with the sentiment of this. And it also made me, it made me think about, so this showed up on my feed a couple of days ago, and he did a really great job. This is Igloo Moth. Smaller creator. We're both smaller creators. But he did, this was funny. He did the same 10 guys sell us another camera. And I think we kind of teased this on our last show when we said, hey, this is just going to be another podcast talking about the FX5. But it's a great video. And I was self-consciously glad that he didn't clip us and put this in here. So he clipped everybody else and kind of teased them. It's all the same talking points, and it's all the same marketing, and we covered it. You know, he's got Danny on there. He's got who else has he got? I mean, I guess it's just Danny, but he's talking about basically how everybody will sell you the new camera, and then next week we'll have another new camera. And I think that's fair. And we've touched on this before. You know, if it solves a problem, I'm all for it. And I enjoy getting to talk gear and getting to talk stuff. But if it doesn't solve a problem for you, you know, we teased too, Jake, and you're a big advocate of, like, dude, there have been some great movies shot on iPhones. So do you really need the greatest and the best and the next thing if it doesn't fix a problem for you? Then absolutely what this guy left on my video, if you're going to YouTube, what does it matter? Like, it's going to all compress down anyway. So if that's your delivery content, then why do you need an FX5 versus if you've got the FX3? Thoughts, Laggy Jake?
I don't think I'm going to be lagging. I was just going to text you. So should I just go to my phone, or, you know, try to jump in on my phone and, you know, continue this that way? Or, you know,
you can try. We will miss you for a second, but maybe try and jump in as a phone creator. We'll get you in. We'll try it that way if you need to.
Text me the link, and so I can at least try. Or, you know, I'm going to log out here because I don't think anyone wants to deal with me lagging.
Yeah, probably not.
Text me the guest link.
Yeah, you got it, man.
And then
the lovely technical difficulties of Wi-Fi. AJ, what's up, man? Do you have bad Wi-Fi there, or are we dealing with Jake's bad Wi-Fi? Comes down to knowing your gear. AJ's right again, man. And you did a great video on that. You got to know your gear and what the weaknesses and strengths are. And I think know your delivery as well. Like, I've got my, my logo, since Jake's not there, in the middle of my face. But if you know where you're delivering and what you're delivering to, and don't buy something just because of marketing. I mean, I don't think we've ever talked about that. I love covering gear, and Jake's back. We'll let you get set up, Jake, before I throw you on screen. But know your gear, know what you're delivering to. And Jake has spoken highly of some of the content that we're shooting for social gets shot on iPhones because you're delivering it to iPhones. So why wouldn't you consider that as an option? And I think we've talked about as well, go like smaller packages. Smaller packages is a good thing. Jake, now we've got two of you. So you throw yourself on whatever you want. Hey, okay, we're back.
All right. I have a backup of the phone going in case it lags again, but I'm here.
I love it. Okay, welcome back to the show. I was kind of stalling for you and chatting. But
so, I mean, yeah, my hot take now. Now I'm ready to talk.
I figured this would get you.
Basically, I mean, again, it's the same usage. Yes, look, there's a reason why they're called influencers.
Yeah.
The influence, they're marketers. At the end of the day, they're just figureheads for marketing. But like you as the consumer have to go, great, do I actually need this camera? We had talked about, on a personal side, you as a Sony shooter, me as a Canon shooter, like, do I, that the new Canon R6V came out and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. And then I saw it in person. I was kind of like, do I actually need it? And then I had a real use case of like being on a podcast and being like, if you look at my framing, like I had somebody else look at the framing who works in film and who was the husband of the host. And he was like, what? I was like, look, I got to crop it in here and then I got to crop it like this. Like, of course it looks like shit, but like, I know what I'm doing. And so like the R6V though solves that. Now, as a cinema camera, I think the FX5 solves a lot of problems that indie filmmakers need and want. Is it that much better of a, camera for social media than the FX3 or the FX30? No. But if you're making films, if you're making higher end commercials, productions, yes, it solves a lot of problems that user base needs.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing that I was thinking as well is like, we talked about this, the idea of an FX5, like selling an FX5 to somebody who's creating most of their content for YouTube seems like a silly, like that's not the user base. That's not what they added and improved upon. What they built was you jumped off again. What they built was a pipeline to the Burano. So if you're shooting with the Burano regularly, that's a great camera. That's an extra camera. Are we good? Now you're muted. Your microphone's muted, bud. So we can't hear anything that you're saying. You're jumping around.
I'm just trying to make this work.
Now you have, and I'm hearing echo. So this is not working. You got to mute your computer. Technical difficulties, y'all. Appreciate you hanging in with us. I'll button. There we go. You're kind of here. You're a potato, but you got about 8 pixels. So it'll serve us for at least the conversation about AI, because I need you on this one, because you've been the advocate where I have a lot of frustrations and problems on that. But to end this just comment discussion, like we would never want to sell AJ, what's up, man? Hello. But we would never want to sell. Now you're switching around, dude. You're killing me. Don't buy something if you don't need it. Buy something that solves your purpose. And like AJ said, Burlap and Light Productions, rent it before you buy it. It always helps. Jake, you've said the same thing. Rent something, and it's always a shiny new car. That said, I can understand these guys being excited about this camera. Like, I don't want to trash on all these guys, these influencers, these YouTubers that got the camera. Because I think when you're very excited about a new camera or a part of your pipeline that gets solved, a solution that gets solved, either by technology or a new piece of kit or whatever, that is exciting to get to talk about. And I think that also validates, as filmmakers, content creators, whatever you're doing, like a little bit of validation. If Sony's looking at your stuff and says, hey, we want to work with you, like that feels good. So you're always kind of looking for those pieces of the puzzle on YouTube, or like a couple of weeks ago, we talked about Curry Barker and how he was able to use analytics to basically learn what what works and doesn't work on shorts, on script writing. And so validating stuff is not always a bad thing. And so I appreciate everybody who created stuff and did those reviews, because it does take a lot of work and a lot of effort. The other thing, though, on the Sony thing that I saw, and Jake, I think you'll get a kick out of this, because the people laughing the hardest, I think, on the FX5 launch and watching everybody talk about how great the FX5 is, how all these new features are groundbreaking, are my Lumix people. My Lumix people, the panty shooters that have had open gate forever. Basically, they're laughing, going, a year ago, you told us this was totally useless and unimportant. Now you're selling it like it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And so this thing cracked me up. I don't know if you saw. Oh, Jake's gone. Here you go. We're back, buddy. This was on Lumix's Instagram site. And I was like, all right, well played to Lumix, their social media team. But basically, here's the lineup of every Lumix camera that has had open gate. No gatekeeping here, folks. Open gate since 2014. So they have definitely pioneered this. And especially, a comment in, we need competition in markets, because we finally got Sony to listen and go, hey, this is kind of a thing. This is important. Because Lumix has been doing this forever. And we have 100%, there's 100,000 videos on YouTube, the Sony fans that said, you don't need open gate. Open gate's not really interesting, until now the FX5 has it. Now it's,
but Canon's the same thing
stuff
with the R6V,
following. Tell me the last time, you guys in the chat too, tell me the last time Canon's led on something.
No, but
I love Canon.
I'm agreeing with you. Canon and Sony both behind the 8 curve in terms of open gate, but like they're coming in and going, okay, great. Hey, here's our open gate camera. I'm agreeing with you in the sense of Canon did the same thing with the R6V.
Absolutely. They've added it, and it is, and we've talked about it on here. I think it is useful for the people that need it. Does Nikon and Canon offer it? I am not a strong Nikon user or shooter, so I can't tell you, AJ. I know Canon has open gate because Jake just mentioned it. The R6V that came out, they were heavily pushing open gate. The Nikon ZR, which is the one I shoot with, doesn't have it. So you're limited to 16:9 on that sensor readout. But I don't know the other. Nikon's pushed sensor readout speeds on their Z9 and Z8. Like, those cameras are crazy fast. I just don't know if they do open gate yet. It's supposed to maybe come in a firmware at some point for the ZR, but good luck. We'll believe that when we see it. The other little piece of news that I would love to just give a little shout out to DJI, because we have hit on them. We've commented on their inability to successfully launch a product this summer. And they did tease that today they would be launching the DJI Pocket 4P globally. And it did come out. They launched it. They said this is when it's coming out. They launched it worldwide. Of course, not here in the States. We don't get that camera, but they did launch it worldwide. And the other thing that is, like, I love seeing is that CineD covered this and did a full exposure test, which is what I've wanted to see since forever. So I guess today all the NDAs expired, which is why we get to see a whole lot. So if you're like me and you refresh your YouTube algorithm and you see 100 videos about the 4P, it's because the NDAs expired today. And so we get some content. But CineD did a latitude test on the 4P, and Jake, man, it got almost as good as they were claiming on an independent latitude test. Now, this is something that I thought was interesting for a pocket camera. We can always find stuff to gripe and complain about. It's a fairly slow rolling shutter, 11 milliseconds. I mean, are you going to notice it on a 1-inch sensor? Probably not. But now that we're talking FX5 in the 5 milliseconds. You got the FX3 at 8 milliseconds. You've got the Nikon at 3 milliseconds. It's a little slower for this one, but that's okay. We've got 16 readable stops here. So if you look at this, this is Imatest. This is what Gerald Undone will constantly use as his latitude test. So I'm glad to see other people picking this up and giving us some technical specs. I'm a technical nerd. And AJ, like you said, knowing the limitations of your camera, to me, this kind of data helps me know what I can do with a camera, what I can't do, what I should expect, where I can overexpose or underexpose. I think that is hugely important when you go out, especially if you're going to use this professionally. But man, 17 stops at an SNR of 1, so signal to noise of 1, which means you're still allowing some of those noisier, lower stops in 17.2. SNR of 0.5 or a signal to ratio of 2, which means that you're not allowing some of those most noisy stops. You're still getting 16, which beats out, we covered this last week. That beats out the FX5 in their raw modes. I think Gerald Undone got 14 with the FX5. Pretty impressive to be in this little camera. And then you've got on the tele lens, we've talked about that. Todd did a great job. He's had a couple of people on that have had that camera, either the 4P or the Muse, the extra version. And they've kind of mentioned the 60 millimeter, the telephoto lens doesn't have the lo-fi chip in it. It doesn't have the same sensor. So and it doesn't have D-Log 2. So you won't get the same latitude on the telephoto, but you're still getting 12 at a 1 and at a SNR of 2, you're at 11. We talked about this last week, Jake. Like, that's very usable when the Red 1 was like 10.
Yeah. I mean, it's wild. I was shooting social content the other day and, we were outside in the sun and I'm like, I'm just going to shoot on the phone. It's just going to look better. It'll look easier. I don't have to worry about post-production on it. I don't have to and it looked great.
Yeah.
And so in my opinion, that's where some of these cameras that are, the small pocket iPhone-y type cameras just excel the best is in that hard light where it retains those highlights, but at the same time, your shadows are not completely shot. And,
let me show you this,
really save your ass.
This was the most impressive to me. And I can show you my test, which looks very similar to what Nico did over here at Cine D, which I appreciate. So here's the 4P on the wide with the base exposure. This is as much as I will nerd out over this kind of test, I think this only gives you very hard data and numbers. This is the cooler test to me, where you expose at 0, basically. Make sure that whatever your lighting is exactly set to whatever your f-stop is. So you're basically at a 0 exposure here. Your gray is 18% gray here. And that's how I did it. I matched up 18% gray on the scopes. And then what you do is you underexpose it and overexpose it. And you bring that 18% gray back, like what he's explaining here. You bring these stops back so that everything equals. And then you look at what the image looks like. So here's 4 stops over. This is where I was the most impressed with this sensor, where they've done a really amazing job. This is 4 stops overexposed on your image, brought back down.
Wow.
And to compare, guys, if you guys care about this, I did the same style of test. So here's my test. Here's at 0. Okay. And this is the Pocket 3. So I have the DJI Pocket 3. As soon as I overexposed it, look at how bad the clipping gets. And so this was 1 stop over, brought back down. When I got to 4 stops, Jake, this is what the image looks like right here.
Nothing.
It's fully and completely unusable garbage. Like you cannot use that. What I was impressed with on the Pocket 3 is if you want to underexpose it and bring it back, what I learned here is that if you're underexposing at 4 stops, you're going to lose contrast and saturation, but I can fix that. I can't fix this, right?
Yeah.
But I can fix a little bit of contrast and saturation. I thought for a 4-year-old camera, guys, like this is, and now it's, if you get the Muse that's on Amazon still for the moment, you know, you got a little bit more time left, I guess, to get that camera, but it's $300. You've got 4 stops under exposure that you can play with and it looks good. So compare where we were on the Pocket 3 at 4 stops over to this 4 stops over. Very impressive. And here's 5 stops underexposed, pushed back up. You can see the same type of log curvature. So you can actually see what the log is doing, where it's kind of mushing some of this together, right? Like this looks less contrasted than this between the highs and the lows. There's less difference here, and the exposure's brought obviously down. But so that's what I thought was interesting. You can actually see the log curve when you do these tests. 5 stops underexposed, pushed back up with noise reduction. I mean, that's passable, right? Like you could use this, I think.
Yeah.
Especially,
I mean, even if you go down, what's the bottom one? What is that?
6. This is 6 stops. This is 4P. 6 stops under brought back.
Okay, so hear me out.
6 stops under with noise reduction. I'm hearing you. I can hear you. You're not. Well, are you delayed? You're a little delayed. It's okay. I'll hear you out. Don't. Oh my gosh, you do this. My homie, you're off of the screen now. Don't do that. All right, hear me out. And then he drops off, guys. This is what we get.
Well, because I had to tease you guys. I had to set this up. Dramatic. But I'm just saying, I know people, I see people all the time on YouTube going for that coloring. Specifically that, like, you know, it looks like it's colored. That's the irony in it. In my thoughts, it's like that 6 stops under literally looks like half of the, I'm going to be very polite, creative artists that I see on YouTube, they're stylized LUT packs. Which is just 6 stops underexposed, pulled back up.
On a you know, $600-700 camera.
On a
that you can't get here in the States.
4P.
Yeah. So if you guys want, that's on Cine D. Like we'll move on here. But I was happy to see that Cine D is doing some of these more technical tests, because I feel like Gerald Undone was phenomenal at that, at least on the YouTube side. I think since he's kind of retired, I don't know who else is going to, you know, pick up the slack there. Do you remember, Jake? Because I was the camera nerd that watched, or anybody here that's watching, Zacuto would do camera shootouts once a year. And it was like a big deal. They would pit like all of these Cine cameras next to each other and do all these technical studio tests. That was my jam, man. That was so much fun to watch those. And it was all these kind of high level cameras, but it was, I mean, we're competing against like 10 stops of dynamic range back then. Now all of these cameras are so much better. AJ, yeah, we'll buy your LUTs, buddy. That's every YouTuber's got. Hey, I'll teach you how to color grade, and it's just let me put on my special LUT pack. Just pay for it. But yeah, so I'm happy to see that Cine D is kind of jumping in there with the more technical testing of these sensors and of these cameras, because I feel like that's a useful tool to go into your shoot with. If you know what it does to skin tones, if you know what it does to lights and highlights and how much you can push the image, that's knowing your camera, that's knowing your gear before you walk into a shoot, which is, and I would highly suggest anybody that's working professionally, go do that with your camera. You're going to learn a lot when you do set up a test like that in your space, and you can learn where that camera starts to break apart. I think that's a very easy thing to do that is hugely important in your workflow. So,
all right.
Speaking of
Bullets,
workflow,
let me ask you this.
Yes, sir.
if I see my other camera not lagging anymore, should I go back to that or should I just stay on the pixelated bullshit?
So I don't know. Whatever you want to do, brother. You can switch it out. Let's see. Let's switch you out. Boom. Now you've got all three. Boy, that would be fun. I think you're still on the cell phone, bud. There you go. You want to try that?
See, but now it starts lagging.
Yeah, you're a potato again. Just go back to here and we'll just leave it because the more you cut in, it's confusing. We'll just stay here. We're good. Technical difficulties, guys.
Shit show of a show.
No, you know what? I think this actually, anybody that's here, guys, I think here's what happened. Jake, we finally said we're going to talk about AI. We're going to have the AI debate.
Yeah.
I think you're being hacked by Claude and ChatGPT and whatever the meta unicorn is or whatever their version of this is.
They don't want the truth. They can't handle the truth.
So they hacked you and made you look like an AI potato. That's what happened. They gave you, your internet service provider gave you a bit rate of 1 so that you could not explain all of the issues that you've had, which is funny because you don't have issues. You're actually the pro. Yeah, you are the pro on this, not I. But you know what this does? You know what this does allow us to do? Now we're going to get into some AI. We're going to talk about some pros and cons. You know what we get to do right now, Jake? We get to use my bumper. But and bothered. I worked so hard on that. I didn't work hard on that, but I'm glad we get to use it again. Also AI. I used AI for that. So there's an admittance. I'm interested in this, Jake. We'll jump into some of the stuff that you had. I have a thesis. So I might let you lean on this. Like you give me your idea on this segment, and I will give you my thesis on what I believe currently the trend of AI is and where it's popular and not.
So wait, what's the question?
Lead us into, this was your kind of idea of this segment. So I was going to say.
Oh, so I mean, look, AI is constantly being debated because oh my goodness, I can't touch my table. It goes, what a shit show of a show this week. I'm so sorry. I thought I had the solution for this problem that I had, but clearly this was not correct.
I think you need to update your internet service provider, but that's okay. Give me so what are you thinking on the AI topic?
So, all right. So this is basically the thought is I see, because there's a lot of debate on like, is AI good? Is AI not? And my current stance on it, as of July 30th, 2026, is it is a great tool. It's like the internet. It's there to make your life easier and do things faster. Now, in my opinion, it's like it shouldn't make art for you. Like if you want to be an artist, well, go make art. But like half of what I do is business. More than half of what I do is business. Is I run a company. So me running a company, I'm going to try to delegate as much of that to AI or leverage AI. But I think what you brought up a point offline in this last week, which was fantastic, which I kind of want to let you, it's like, and because I know it's very true, especially I just worked with a client, and you can once you're in the world of AI, it is obvious to tell what is AI and what is not in terms of proposals, websites. I mean, you had a great perspective.
Is that you tossing it back to me?
That was me tossing it back to you.
Fair. Okay. Anybody that's here, here's my thesis. And I want anybody that's in the chat for this segment, if you want to dunk on AI, that's fair. There's plenty of stuff to dunk on. You can just put FAI in the chat. I get it. I'm with you on that. If you have any tips, anything you're actually using it for, because I think part of this segment, we want to talk about what's useful versus what's hallucinogenic and just ends up having more issues than just doing it yourself. Here's my thesis though, okay? Because I knew we were talking about this. So Jake, I think that currently, one, I think you can break out people's acceptance and either acceptance or hate of AI into age brackets. I think I mean, plus 50, I've seen people that just love it, and all these things that drive me absolutely bonkers on the internet, seeing over and over and over again. They're like, oh my God, this is amazing. I know there's, Chris Nolan, just, you can go look that up. He did an interview where he said his kids hate it, are super pushed back against it. So I think it kind of can break down into age groups, but here's my thought. Anything that is generated with AI is exactly the same as pictures of your kids. I will explain. Whoever has generated their thing, whatever their thing is so excited to show you how great pictures of their kids are. Anybody else that you go show the pictures of your kids to, hey, here's my first grader's band concert. Check this video out. You are so proud of what you have created and what it looks like to you. And everybody else is like, okay, yeah, that's great. That's another picture of your kid. Great. Yeah. Okay. I think that's kind of where because I feel it in myself in terms of the generative stuff. Some of the stuff that you can feign this creative process in your head by prompting or doing, inputting an image, inputting into ChatGPT, I want a flyer of this thing. And you can look at that with that little dopamine hit of like, I'm creative. I made this. And then you go to show it to anybody else. It's like pictures of your kids. It is generic. Your kids aren't generic, but it is generic work and it's easy to see through. So that's my thesis. We're going to put everything through that lens
which I haven't heard that perspective yet. And I think that's just such a great perspective, especially because one can now do things that they've never been able to, whether it's, Suno and making a song to making a video, making an image, making a painting, making a that, like, oh, I could do this now. I've never been able to do this. And you have that magic of being an artist, which it is
without the work.
What?
Without the work.
Yeah, without the work,
effort.
without the expertise, without any of the struggle. And but and it's interesting because do I think, I'm just going to throw out an idea. Mary Sue from small town USA, if she were to make a AI short film versus, I don't know, freaking Spielberg, Christopher Nolan, any of the best directors on the planet to make an AI short film, who would make a better short film? Somebody who understands the craft and how to tell a story. I feel like my message is being drowned out by my 1-bit pixelation, but it's an interesting thing because yes, you have these tools to be able to do it easier, but there's still the craft of storytelling. There's still the craft of, like I worked with a client who wrote all these scripts with AI, and I could easily tell that they were all AI scripts. And like, I just was like, this is horrendous compared to like how I did. It was like, great, help me create a schedule for these 17 shots. Great, you're going to be a first AD and you're going to help create a schedule. It's a very different thing. It's an organizational, way of handling it. Hold on, I think I'm not lagging in my other one. Let me try that now.
See, oh yeah, baby, and I look better.
All right, we'll try this one for a minute.
We'll try this until I start lagging.
Yeah, all right, fantastic.
You can, at least I feel better. So, like I use AI for outreach, for proposals, things that I don't want to do.
Yeah.
Things that that just are not interesting and not not fun.
Yeah. And I think that there is some value to that. But I think what you just said, that's probably the rub that is the most frustrating to me is I don't mind using it. I've used it with some success on researching and aggregating as a better search tool than just Google. I think it does well on that. Here's another thing I wrote down in our thoughts of what AI is and isn't. If you are don't expect me to care more about your company, brand, whatever, than you do. So if you don't care to write me the email or create the flyer, hire the marketing team to do the flyer, whatever, if you're subdividing that out to AI, your effort level is close to zero, because we all know how easy it is to generate stuff like that, to generate an email, to generate a flyer, that is the low-hanging fruit of the AI ethos right now. And I think that what a lot of businesses, brands, companies, especially on the smaller end, are seeing is that I don't have to do all this stuff anymore, and it's so fast and easy for me to just generate it. What I feel on the consumer end is you don't care about your business, your thing, your whatever, because I can see that you just generated a flyer. It took you 30 seconds. You didn't even come up with the text on it. You let ChatGPT do the text on it. When I see that, I go, I don't need to care about your brand because you don't care about your brand. So I think that's the backlash. But going back to the thesis, I'm certain whoever created, that small business owner that created their flyer or their email or their whatever they're using because they don't want to do it, like pictures of their kids, thought, this is great. People are going to really love this because I created this. I made this, and this represents my business very well. I can do the same thing with, I use AI, generative AI for thumbnails. And I go, oh, this looks pretty good. Okay. I don't believe it's useful just to just generate it. Here, take the entire creative process of a YouTube thumbnail away from me, for me, just do it. I think there's so much of that slop on right now that you have to have a creative process. You can use it as a tool, but if you just subdivide that out or subjugate that out to the lowest common denominator, the cheapest thing, the fastest thing, why should anybody else care?
Yeah. I mean, and I'm lagging again.
All right. I think maybe we should push this because, Jake, you are just struggle bussing it out today.
Yeah, dude, it's, not a good look for us.
Yeah. Well, we'll work on this. We lost our homies anyway, so we will reconvene next week and hopefully have a better internet connection. Would be great.
Yes, we will.
All right, man. Let me get our bumper out. Till the next one.